Greetings, everyone. It is the Ambassador, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing. And hope y'all are having a great day wherever you are out there in the world. And welcome to a brand new Ambassadorial editorial. And before I get started, if this is your first visit to the Ambassadorial Wing, hope you enjoyed the video. And by all means, be sure to leave your comments down below with anything I bring up today. And hit that like button, share this out with all of your Marvel and X-Men friends, and if you are not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button and becoming a part of this growing community, the Ambassadorial Wing, where we discuss, we debate, and we celebrate pop culture. But that all being said, this might be just a little bit of a rant. As many of you know, I am a huge, and I mean a huge, Marvel fan, and in particular, a fan of the X-Men universe. I read the comics, I watched the cartoons, I collected the toys once upon a time. And I am a huge fan of the X-Men film franchise, that one that was released or done by Fox, 20th Century Fox, now just simply 20th Century Studios. And my love, you could say that my connection to the X-Men cinematic franchise is a love-hate relationship. When it's great, I love it, and when I hate it, oh man, I hate it. And today I want to just share my thoughts on something that has really bothered me over the last several years in terms of a very prominent and very well-loved storyline in the X-Men and the Marvel Universe, and that is, of course, the Phoenix and DarkPhoenix sagas. And this editorial will focus on how you don't do the DarkPhoenix saga. And I will be using the two films that try to adapt to varying degrees. Okay, I'm just going to be blunt. They failed. They categorically failed across the board at how badly they bungled one of the most well-loved and appreciated storylines in the X-Men universe. Now, before you all say, well, Ambassador, you're kind of young. Did you actually ever read the DarkPhoenix saga or the Phoenix saga itself? Yes. Yes, I did. I read the DarkPhoenix saga at least. I have not had a chance to get a copy of the trade paperback of the Phoenix Saga, but I have read this much. And I do know the long and short version of the Phoenix Saga in and of itself. In the early 2000s, and then just a few years ago, Fox Studios tapped, I will be blunt here, a hack of a director and a writer in the person of Simon Kinberg to adapt, to write, and to direct the DarkPhoenix saga. And not on one occasion, but two, did he completely and utterly bungle this storyline. He bungled the characters, he bungled the events, he butchered the storyline utterly. Now, do I lay some blame on the heads of the executives at Fox Studios or 20th Century Studios? Oh, yes, I do. Because they did not understand the magnitude of the story they were trying to tell. You don't go from Jean Grey, and I'm just going to jump right into this, because like I said, this is going to be a bit of a rant. Because I recently watched DarkPhoenix. I refused to buy a copy of it, and I refused to go see it in theaters. You may ask yourself, why? Because I absolutely despised the story that was told in X-Men 3, The Last Stand. It was a hack job of the DarkPhoenix saga, the conclusion. Not to mention, it was just an absolutely dreadful film across the board. You don't kill Professor Xavier, you don't kill Cyclops, and you can kill Jean Grey, but you have to have build up to that. Not to mention, you have to have build up to the death of these three characters. Characters that we had just been introduced to 2 movies prior. we got introduced to these three characters in the early 2000s in Bryan Singer's X-Men and X-Men 2, X-Men United. Both movies I have reviewed here on my channel. You can find them under the Marvel and DC playlist. Now, I will say this much. Those two movies introduced the universe, introduced the characters, they built the stakes, and they did a good job. But what Brett Ratner and Simon Kinberg did with X-Men Last Stand was they tried to hodgepodge or jury-rig their way to the DarkPhoenix, because that was a cornerstone of the story they were telling in X-Men 3 The Last Stand. And it wasn't even the sole story. It was just one little piece of the narrative they were telling in X-Men 3, when that could have been the entire movie just in and of itself. They toss in a subplot with a mutant who has the ability to negate other mutants' powers, which there is a character in the X-Men universe who can do that. Now, on top of that, they throw in a very hackneyed and a very poorly done love triangle between Bobby Drake, Rogue, and Katie Pryde. Absolutely poorly done, contrived as all hell. And I was just, when I walked in, I haven't watched that movie in a while. I watched it maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago at most, because that's how much I absolutely deride that movie. I don't even own a copy of it. If I ever want to watch it, which why would I want to watch a bad movie? I'll watch it on Disney Plus, because they have that film. But they shoehorn in the fall of Jean Grey. Now, granted, they had not established any type of interstellar aliens in this particular version of the X-Men franchise. What they tried to do was make the DarkPhoenix or the Phoenix a alternate personality for Jean Grey, which could have potentially worked. But you had no stakes. You didn't see the slow decline of Jean Grey wrestling with this alternate personality. 1 minute she's resurrected, and the next minute, poof, she's bad. There's an entire story that is missed in between X-Men 2 and X-Men 3, where you could have explored Jean struggling with this alternate personality of herself. Not to mention, they completely, and I did my research on this, not once, but twice, both in X-Men 3 and X-Men DarkPhoenix, they completely butchered the suppression of her powers. In DarkPhoenix and in Last Stand, they made Professor Xavier a person that we are supposed to respect, a person that is a hero, a man of strong morals and ethics. And they turned him into a mental butcher. He suppressed Jean's memories. He suppressed her powers because they were too out of bounds for him to maintain. And they compound this in X-Men DarkPhoenix with Sophia Grace's performance as Sophia Turner as Jean Grey, and James McAvoy as Professor Xavier. In this particular version, Jean Grey's father tells Xavier, "Will you take my daughter off my hands, because I can't handle her, and I blame her for the death of my wife, her mother." Completely and utterly bungled that aspect of the story. Now, I did my research. Jean Grey's parents have never been killed off in any continuity as far as I'm aware. The only death that is connected to Jean Grey was a close friend of hers, a close childhood friend, and that friend, Jean was in her mind when she died, because she died of an illness. Not because Jean killed her, not because she caused some accident, nothing. So you have completely rim-wrecked Jean Grey's motivation. You have rim-wrecked her backstory, her back history. Not only that, but you took a character that a lot of us respected and liked, and that is Professor Xavier. Now, I understand Professor Xavier's not a perfect character, but in the portrayals that we have seen thus far on the big screen and in animated series, he would never do something this monumentally unethical. Never. For those of you who know the history of the X-Men franchise, Professor Xavier is a analog for Martin Luther King, whereas Magneto, Eric Lyncher, is an analog for Malcolm X, both who were civil leaders in the civil rights movement back in the 1960s. One was more of a pacifist looking to gain public support through peaceful protest. The other one was more militant. To completely rewrite Professor Xavier in the way they did in DarkPhoenix, not so much in Last Stand, but most definitely in DarkPhoenix, is a complete and total butchering of the character. Not to mention James McAvoy's portrayal of Xavier in DarkPhoenix is completely in breaking of his development as a character in the previous 3 movies, whether you love him or hate him. Now, personally, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, and X-Men Apocalypse I absolutely love. And James McAvoy's performance in those 3 films, he was the stable center of the X-Men group. He was the founder. But in X-Men DarkPhoenix, he's like a showboater. He's acting, now they try to explain it away, well, he's trying to do all this positive PR because someday something bad may happen that will cause the public to turn against mutants. And lo and behold, just so happens, something bad happens. But what happens? All that PR that Xavier tries to do doesn't mean a damn thing. I recently watched DarkPhoenix because, like I said, I never went to theaters to see it because once I heard Simon Kinberg was in charge of this, not only writing it but directing it, I was like, I am not touching this movie with a 10-foot pole because I know how badly he butchered the DarkPhoenix saga the first time. To kind of get back to my original point for this video, how do you do the DarkPhoenix and how do you not do the DarkPhoenix sagas? First off, you have to do the Phoenix Saga first. Now, in X-Men DarkPhoenix, we get a relatively good adaptation of that event. But the motivation behind that event is completely out of bounds with how the X-Men operate. They are not superheroes. They are not in the public eye. Xavier pretty much keeps the fact that he is a mutant and that those are his school secret from the general public. And yet, in DarkPhoenix, Xavier's out there flaunting the fact that, yeah, we're mutants and we're in the public eye. And he's putting the X-Men in undue and unnecessary danger. Xavier, in every adaptation that I have watched or I have read, would never be this blatantly reckless or this blatantly unethical. Never. Now, I might be being a bit hyperbolic because I do care this much about the X-Men franchise. But at the same time, it just absolutely boggles my mind that Fox Studios gave Simon Kinberg not 1 crack, but 2 to do this storyline, to do the DarkPhoenix saga. And he screwed it up twice. There is so much character development that needed to happen between Scott Summers and Jean Grey, particularly this iteration in the rebooted universe that started with the First Class film, which I'll be doing a review of here in a week or so. Same thing for Days of Future Past, and same thing for Apocalypse, as well as the Wolverine and Logan. I will be covering all of the main canonical X-Men films that came out over the last several years, starting with in the early 2000s. But I wanted to do this editorial covering Last Stand and DarkPhoenix because it took, to bring this back up here again, it took years, literal years of storytelling and character development for them to get to this story. To get to Jean Grey's tragic death. And not only that, it took years as well to get to her even becoming the unpolluted Phoenix, the non-dark Phoenix, but just simply the Phoenix. Now, I have done research on that story, further research into why the story was done by Chris Claremont. It is because he felt that Jean Grey was an underrated character. She was kind of a sideline character. She was one that was always having to be saved by the other members of the X-Men team. And this goes all the way back to her original introduction in the 1960s and the original X-Men launch. And Claremont wanted to give her a boost in notoriety as a character and write a truly epic story around her, one that not only transformed her as a character, but transformed all the people around her as well. And for Marvel fans, for X-Men fans across the board, the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix storylines are two of the most well-loved and well-respected and most appreciated storylines. Now, granted, there was some retconning done in the aftermath, and this was at the behest of Jim Shooter, which, again, you see executives monkeying around with storylines, not only in comic books, but also in cinema. But that's beside my point. Fox Studios' first mistake was hiring Brett Ratner. Don't get me wrong, Brett Ratner is not a bad director. He did, I think, 2 of the 3 Rush Hour films I absolutely love. But was he the right pick for a franchise like X-Men? No. I cannot say with any honesty that I think Brett Ratner was the right choice for X-Men: The Last Stand. He wasn't. He was a director for hire. For him, it was just a paycheck. As far as Simon Kinberg goes, that man should never be allowed near another script or another movie set or another production, at least not in a established universe like the Marvel Universe, the MCU, or anything else across the board. Let him go off to DC and do something there if they're willing to have him. Or let him go do something in some other franchise, or just do non-superhero, non-comic book movie work. Because on 2 occasions, and the thing that killed me in watching Dark Phoenix and having watched The Last Stand, he quite literally copy and pasted moments and plot lines or plot elements from Last Stand and put them right into Dark Phoenix. And he did it badly on both occasions. Now, if you enjoy, let me make one disclaimer right now. If you happen to like either one of these films, that is your prerogative. I'm not going to point my finger at you and say that you're stupid or that you have bad taste. That is never my intention when I do videos like this. But speaking as someone, as I've mentioned, who loves the X-Men universe, who has been a Marvel fan since I was yay high, shorter than I am now, these movies poorly represent the Dark Phoenix saga across the board. It's rushed. The character development is not there. There should have been at least 1, maybe 2 more movies in between or before both of those films were ever released. I understand that Fox Studios was under certain constraints because they didn't have the opportunity to introduce aliens or intergalactic empires or anything else like that in their X-Men universe. But the way that they did it in Dark Phoenix was just an absolute mess. It boggled my mind how badly this alien race was conceived, what their motivation was, and just how stiffly the actors who portrayed these aliens acted. It just, the logic of that film made my brain literally hurt. And it's been a long time since a movie has done that. Last movie that gave me that much of a headache, well, I'll just say one thing: Rise of Skywalker, and that's all I'll say. But I cannot, with good conscience, as a comic book movie fan, as a comics fan, as an X-Men fan, as a Marvel fan, say with a clear conscience, I recommend anybody watch these movies. Now, if you've watched these movies and you like them, as I said before, that's your prerogative, and I will not deny you it. But if you have never watched these films, just take my advice. Avoid them at all costs. Go watch something else. Go watch Wayne's World. Go watch Beavis and Butthead Do America. Go watch some goofy comedy instead of watching these movies and subjecting yourself to absolutely cringeworthy writing, a poorly developed plot, and a whole mess of shoehorned subplots that mean absolutely nothing to the DarkPhoenix saga in and of itself. So, but I hope that this rant made some sense. I hope maybe it gave you an idea of how I feel about these films, the flaws within them. And if you don't heed my advice, that again is your prerogative. But if you do heed my advice, okay, great. So, but with that being said, folks, you all have a wonderful day. Be safe out there. Stay ambassadorial. And until next time, this is the Ambassador, signing off.